y'all, welcome back to Between Sisters. Nên là cũng mới được hỏi chia sẻ này cái ý tưởng thầy sinh kế ý tưởng cứ khi sinh kế cái tầm đó là ý tưởng advocate for the arts. Này cô ya Serena, nha chào. Thank you for having us. She cũng có sao có khi có lúc về cái ta cho với bảo cái này vậy.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Serena Duanzong Yang Ramoran.
Ok chị, mỗi ý lúc về gì là cái sao cái cô giờ gì nữa bây giờ?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, okay. Chúng ta chia sẻ mà bây giờ tôi ý nghĩa thì bây giờ sao tôi thả mình chỉ cho có họ kiến cử sinh kế thế này vậy. Thế thì bây giờ thả cho lúc họ đã xin ông đây vậy. Cái thì đã xin ông có cô để努力家庭เลยthì cô cũng họเลยthì có những họ tôi ý lúc chạy đầu chiến này vậy. Thì cô cái thì cô họเลย家庭cái chạy đầu cái chạy thế.
So this year I was given a new role as the lead department lead at Roosevelt High School for the dance department, which means I help oversee about 6 different dance teachers.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a lot of work. So it's more collaborative, and it's just that I'm the person in charge. In case there's anything that comes up, they come to me about it, and then I respond back, or I'm the one that goes back to our director for the whole arts department so that they know what's going on in the dance department.
That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right now we're sitting in this amazing studio. Can we talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so we're here at Immaculate Trait. My husband and I, we opened this up 4.5 years ago. And so we mainly teach urban dance styles, and for the little ones, we start to incorporate ballet and tap, and then they also have urban dance classes too.
Wow, okay. You know, so you said urban, a little bit of tap, a little ballet. I've been doing some stooping around. You also teach Hmong dance too, is that correct?
I do, at Roosevelt. So the classes I teach at Roosevelt, I teach 2 hip-hop dance classes, 2 jazz classes this year. Those are the ones we added on. And then I brought back the Hmong dance class. So this is my 4th year doing it. And we had it for many years at Roosevelt. And then I think for 2 years, they took a break. They didn't have a teacher to teach the class. And then when they were like, can you do it? I said, yeah, I've done it since I was little. I did it growing up. And it's going to be some work. And it's very collaborative with the students because a lot of my girls, they have their own groups outside of school.
Yes.
Yeah, so they help out a lot. And I give them leadership roles and saying, okay, this section of the song, do you want to choreograph? Or, okay, there's 22 of us this year. We've always only had about 10 or 12 kids.
So I don't know if you know, but I actually went to Roosevelt too.
Oh, okay.
So you graduated from what I know. During the summer, you graduated. Okay, and I came into Roosevelt the fall.
Oh, okay.
So we just barely miss each other. But I was at Roosevelt, and I did do the program too.
Okay, good.
And I think when I was in the program, I think we had our first male Hmong dancer. And as well as that was the first year that I think my sophomore year or junior was the first year that the hip hop club became an actual class. So that's awesome. And so y'all Roosevelt High School here in Fresno. Program that choosing him to look chicken that like good dog bay program so you know RSA you program RSA
Roosevelt School of the Arts.
Roosevelt School of the Arts. So you know Gucci bought the Shino program is on Gala. She thought go Nicole Bim gonna donna my Hainama Gabek Yum Hong on your hollow program much can go I pay him more Hmong dance being fog and time. Mong nhà họ trông or be more to teach you that you want hong clear thing to join that she outside of that like ballet, tap, any of that you'll see maybe Ethan type Hmong, Alton type Hmong. So it was something that's really new. How does the program looking now?
Well, when I was there, I was the only one, only Hmong girl or student participating in the jazz and ballet. And like you said, we did have Hmong dance classes, and so the girls, it was mostly girls in that at that time, but they didn't take any other styles. I mean, I grew up dancing, so that's why I did the other styles, but now we have Hmong girls that are in ballet and tap. We have boys that are in
wonderful.
ballet and jazz and tap. And then, like I said, I have 23 kids this year. It's the largest I've had in my Hmong dance class. And even the boys, I mean, we have kids who filter through, but some of my students have been with me since I started. So they're going into their senior year with me in the Hmong dance class, and they still are very involved in it, and they take a lot of pride. And that's a big part of the class that I teach is the different units that we go through, especially coming up now, we're doing a history unit. So we study and we kind of talk about like, well, what is Hmong dance? Where does it come from? What influences Hmong dance? And especially the music as well as the costumes. And so we really talk about it, and it's part of their identity. And so I think it's really important. And then we also have a Hmong cultural class at Roosevelt. So I don't want to take away from that, but they learn, the language and everything there too. And so then I focus more on just kind of the dance aspect and history aspect.
How did it all start?
Yeah, so my older sister, we were born in Denver, Colorado. And so my older sister, she's 4 years older, and my parents put her into dance. So my parents, obviously, they came here from, Thailand when they were very young, and so we're first generation born here. And so to put their kids in dance is something I've now grown up to feel and think like, wow, like for Hmong parents to do that and allow their kids to be a part of something like that. That's in a sense that we were made fun of for being so Americanized, But my older sister started dance when she was little, and then when I was 4, they put me in dance classes too. So I did the ballet and the tap, and then we moved to California when I was about 7 years old, and I started dancing here again in Clovis. And so I was there at that studio until I graduated high school. And I did styles. I didn't really do hip hop then though, but I did do ballet, tap, jazz, and lyrical, and then went to college to UC Riverside, and I got my BA, my Bachelor's of Arts in Dance from there. So at that school though, it's more experimental movements and modern, and that's where I found a hip hop dance team, and that's when I kind of started. So it wasn't until college that I got involved in the community, dancing all over LA and San Diego, and got so many amazing opportunities, met so many awesome people, and then college ended, and so I had to come back home. I did do a semester off in London, so I got to study abroad.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I did get to dance out there, and I joined a company for the short time that I was there, so we did a lot of dance stuff too, and then I came home and just had to figure out what do I do next.
So, Batako mentioned that you were going to go back to school for the medical field. What happened between university and UCR and then wanting to go to medical field?
I, like I said, I got my degree in dance and wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with that, but I always kind of had a passion for teaching and a passion for helping others. So I figured, be a doctor. That's gonna be your way. Yeah, and especially for dance, because when I would get hurt, they never knew like how to help me or how to, how did that injury, how did you cause that injury? And so that's kind of where I was kind of going with that. But I never had anyone tell me you could be a physical therapist for dancers. You could be, a physician for dancers, and so it never really crossed my mind to kind of put those two things together. And so the easiest route for me, I feel like, was to become other than being like going to medical school and like taking another 10 years of schooling, so a physician assistant. And so I was starting to take all my classes again, because with a dance degree it was arts, and so I didn't have biology and chemistry and all of that, so that's what I was redoing over during that time, so that I could start applying for programs and continue to pursue that. But like I said, I found my passion in teaching and working with kids, and they said, and I was working part-time, so they said, you have a future here to work full-time and be a full-time dance teacher if that's something you're interested in. So I would have to go back and get my teaching credential.
佢嗰陣都唔知咧，係就個網啲嘅人嚟嘅，但係個 mention 咩嘅佢咁嘅 嘅你冇個冇個可能網嚟嘅，但是頭個咯就 high school 睇when it gets real, once you hit college and after college, and when you're in that rut where you're not sure what you want to do, was there ever a time where they deterred you from the arts, or had they always been your biggest supporters?
I mean, they've always been my biggest supporters growing up, allowing me to dance. I mean, I would say my family, obviously because I'm so young, I'm oblivious to other things, but I would say my family, we were like one of the very first ones, and for my parents to say, do dance, do cheer, do science fair, do history, like be involved in school, get good grades, run for president for your school council. push us and for us to pursue, I wouldn't say the American dream, but just our best, to our best potential and ability, and take those opportunities. And so they were always supporting us and pushing us to do the best. And if we wanted to dance, they let us dance. We wanted to do cheer, they said, okay, let's do it. And my mom worked 3 jobs to, help pay for all of those dance costumes and competitions. And once we got to, so when I graduated from Roosevelt, I actually also won a $10,000 scholarship, the Sunny Brown Scholarship, to pursue in the arts for college. And my dad's always been supportive, but I think that's when he was like, all right, if you're gonna get money for this, then I guess you can continue. But it was always with the intention of like, I would pursue something bigger too, maybe become a doctor. And that's where he was like, okay, well, I can see that, so maybe do that.
It's so good, and you're very lucky to have parents like that. Yeah. 但是佢幫佢就講幫佢個腳短齊，然後我個係嚟先見樣特別 Roosevelt 嘅，就係你年不離家啦，平常不跟你情況嚟估計，啥車嚟個都跟齊唔夠，就係我先見你個高度，你睇下社會人咧有別啲，我下年邊年邊時個係嚟出啥個俾，到樣時別啲嚟估，they struggle, and 嚟佢睇嚟估住啥個俾。Have you spoken to any of your students' parents?
Yeah, the most students' parents that are supportive are obviously my Hmong dance kids' parents, because it's part of their culture, it's part of their identity. So I think they have a better understanding and connection to that. So the hardest struggle we have right now is getting the parents to come out and watch the performance, to show the support and say like, I support you, child. This is really cool and something. So. And it's been a struggle for the last 4 years, and so the last couple of years I've had them write a letter, so like make an invitation and give it to their family, so that encourages them to come and watch the shows. And because I would always ask like, okay, so who invited somebody to come watch, and none of them would invite their families.
Oh no.
Or even ask like, who had somebody come watch them, and none of them had anybody come watch them. So it is still a struggle. It's very hard for these families to support and say like there's somewhere or something you can do out of this. And it's not even like they're going to take dance and continue that after college or high school, but it's right now in this moment they're doing something that they want you to come and watch and see, and like that we would hope you would come and support. We do have some moms, the ones that I've spoken with, they've helped make costumes or like parts of the costume for us. And then most of the time it's just parents concerned about where their student is at, like social emotionally, like how are they doing in school and what their grades are. And I always encourage that dance is something that they really love and they want to be a part of. And this is what's keeping them in school. This is what's keeping them coming to school. So we want to continue to encourage that and say, yeah, this is something that they have fun doing. So come out and watch them. I do have some Hmong students who are in my hip hop dance class. And they do it for fun, and then they also dance after school. But that's the one we have the hardest time getting parents to be okay with, especially when we have rehearsals. Oh, I can't stay because I have to go home and babysit. Oh, I can't stay because my mom needs me to go with her to do this. And it's, this is still part of your grade. It's still part of the class. We need you to be here for rehearsals. But I also understand where they're coming from, and them saying, my parents don't know that we have a show, or my parents don't want me staying after school, or whatever it is. And so I also understand that. So just trying to somehow communicate that and reach out to those parents and find that, I don't know, like, understanding, that it's not the end of the world, and they're not going to throw their whole life away just because they're dancing. That this is for them because it keeps them in school. This is for them because they love what they do, and they've made friends through it. And I have so many kids who are so socially awkward. But they find friends through dance. They find their way of communicating through dance,
expressing themselves.
Especially that. So, but that's the thing is, it's yes, there's a language barrier, and I would say a generational, barrier there. So I think that's my role too, is in trying to encourage the kids to continue to dance, and then, like I said, like inviting families to come out and see, and then we have those back to school nights and things, and encourage them, like, bring your parents and let me meet them, and so we can talk, and so they can check in on you, and I can express to them like how cool this is that you guys get to dance here at school, and it's free.
Yes, it's completely free.
It's free.
Yes, because 我係咪一定要冇落課，冇夠，你一個意思係個都咪有個嘛 you know, more kind of like phiền đông với cho mi cái học với lúc community bảo thì kỳ một cái yo.
Yes.
Thế thì cho bé cái này cái gì mong là chuyện cho tao thì ở nhà kỳ tâm bảo em more hay có hay thế yo cho mi yoแต่ฉันlần này là gì more là cái một cái không sinh kế này yo. Chỉ cho thấy lần này là gì chơi cái tụi mình nó cái thứ sinh kế ta lấy chỉ nên là yo cho là thế thì it có hay it does something for them. It teaches them discipline. Yeah. It teaches them responsibility. Like you say, self-expression.
Yeah, there's so many benefits to dance, just even for the mental health and physically. Yeah, and so for this new year, if I can talk about Common Unity.
Yes. So this new year,
that's the goal of Common Unity was to involve our youth, our Hmong youth.
It's a whole brand new thing that's being added to the Hmong New Year this year, right? Okay, let's talk about that.
So Common Unity was a competition we hosted my studio, my husband and I, 2 years ago for the high schools. Here in Fresno, we had a school from Mesa also come out, and Clovis as well. And so it was to get the high school kids out there because we knew that they had dance teams. And so it's a mix of kids, obviously, from different cultures. But a lot of them, again, like I said, were Hmong students. And so we did that 2 years ago. It was really fun, successful. And then going into this new year, our friend Gary Yang, who is organizing and he's in charge of like all the coordinators for the different events, like the pageant, the singing competition. He himself holds his own breaking competition. He added us on as coordinators to propose a urban dance competition for our youth, as well as opening a category for all ages. So if we have some adults that want to participate, and it's going to be really awesome because we're incorporating. You have to add 3 elements of, and the theme is like. The idea is, what is your Hmong identity? So even if you have a group that you don't have any Hmong students, or maybe you have one, what is your Hmong identity? And so this is being incorporated into the performance. So whether it's you're going to use a Hmong song, or you're going to use Hmong movements, or you can have some sort of traditional part of the costume as part of your costume or uniform that you wear for your group. So incorporating, it's not just a hip hop dance competition, but still sticking to our Hmong New Year and acknowledging the culture, but incorporating that, you know, so many of our kids dance and do hip-hop and urban dance, that this is a place and time for them to get to show that. And so it's going to be happening on Monday, December 30th at the New Year's. And so, it's going to be there's going to be 2 free workshops during the day in the morning before the competition. And these are going to be taught by 2 of our Hmong aspiring choreographers and dancers here in the community, here locally too. They're going to be teaching. And so, it's just going to be really, I think, a great opportunity. This is our first year doing it, and I think HCNYC they're excited and they're really supportive about it. And so we're going to see how this first year goes, and just bring out our community, especially our Hmong youth, to get a chance to compete. And there's a prize money involved too, but get to be on a stage, and hopefully their friends and family come and support them and watch them and see that, wow, this is something that they really enjoy doing.
Alright, cái lý do cái cứ sinh có ít số lượng thế giờ về thì có là có hay kiểu đúng sai cả đời thế này giờ. So what makes a good dancer? Is it passion? Or
definitely
do you
passion.
have to be born with the talent?
Definitely passion, but I always look for those who work hard. Because I've seen kids who are very talented but lazy, right?
Oh, okay.
So yes, talent is a big part of it, but and definitely passion. But if you have that passion, you're going to work really hard. So my big thing is my kids who give me 100% effort all the time. You know, knowing obviously you're going to have a bad day and things happen in life, but when it comes to dance, that they work hard. And if with that perseverance and that work ethic, you're going to be able to learn anything. I can teach you a move and you're going to get it down, you know, and that's what's going to get you better and make you better. But it would be that work ethic, like always giving 100%. Wanting to work hard.
You really know you're the dancer. What's besides hard work?
Yes.
What is something that I need to do so that I can be a better dancer? Because I did take Hmong dance in high school. I do a little bit of Zumba now. But if I want to elevate myself to the next level and be a better dancer?
You're never too old to take a dance class. Here we have adult dance classes on beginners where we've had 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds come in. We've had a 76-year-old come in.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're never too old to start. And I think that's where it starts, is just to be open-minded and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. And take the initiative to take that class. And so our biggest thing, obviously, as a teacher, I want to see my kids taking class. I want to see them trying new styles. I want to see them working and practicing. And so for you, I would say get into a class and just start there and practice. And that's the thing is, don't wait a week until you come back next to, to the next class to practice that dance, but take the time to take what you learned that day, go home, run it a couple times. I mean, all the kids, they always record themselves, and we always tell them that's such a great teaching tool. I know. And that's the thing, because you are your own worst critic.
Oh, yeah.
So you watch the video and say, I suck at that, I suck at that, I suck at that. Okay, now how do I get better? How do I make it better? And so they use that and they get to watch themselves and practice it. And so then all of a sudden next week we see them and we're like, wow, there you go. We know you're not going to get the first day. You have to, be consistent. Consistency is key.
Oh, okay. Cái như nói giờ cú lấy hai tiếng mỗi giờ nè cái gì or là cú sa mỗi giờ tôi cần thấy tôi cần cần này lúc studio nó nhỏ. How do they do that? How do they go about that?
So they can give us a call here at the studio. We're very big on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So our Instagram and our Facebook is linked, and then we also have our website.
Okay.
So immaculatetrait.com, or look up any of our social media, Immaculate Trait. And email us, immaculatetrait@gmail.com, and then we can also give you information about our classes, our prices, and when to start, because we do run a series of 4-week sessions. And so we're coming close to the end of this session, and then we'll start back up. We have our show in December. We do our showcases so that the kids can show their family and friends, what they've learned for the season, and then we'll start back up in January until June. So that one's a longer season, but we run classes all the time.
Okay.
We're always here.
Giờ lúc chị nói chuyện này, cô ba tờ ít khó đi xem cái cô thế cô họ cờ xe cô cờ bao lấy thế thì cô sẽ cái sau hoa là nó cô sắp tới rồi như này.
Let's go. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So it's just 2 8 counts.
2 8 counts.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
And like you said, you like the girly style, so that's what I have to do today.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be good. Okay, so we're gonna start with our right leg.
Okay.
Stepping forward, and then your left leg is gonna tap out here.
Okay.
So it's like a cute little beveled leg.
So,
you gonna work out in?
Yeah, well, I worked out this morning too.
Perfect. This is the best cardio.
Overtime.
If I will make this one of my New Year resolutions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us today.
Yeah,
It's
of
been
course.
a pleasure to talk to you. Couple more look far that you can see like the little dancers or like go or painting sa she that she
Like I said, you're never too old to try, and I think even just for fun, It's a great workout for you, and dance opens up so many different parts of your brain. Listening to music, using your body, and following along with somebody, memorizing things. That it's just overall a healthy way to have fun and exercise. But also, if you're really trying to learn how to dance, you're never too old, and jump into class. We have great teachers that are gonna really get you moving, and it's not gonna happen after the first class. So you gotta come back and continue, obviously. But overall, over here at Immaculate Trait, we encourage just open and creating community, and so getting to know new people and making them feel welcome, so that you're already coming in so scared, like you said, but we really try to say, hey, you're a new friend, come and take class with us, you know, don't be scared, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And so just we're really open to just creating family and friends here, and you know, creating a big dance community here in Fresno. So
well, thank you so much for having us, Serena.
Thank you guys so much.
Alright, vậy là ở trong này cô thì là còn Missing Sisters cái nhận cho thì nước Monday mình thì bây giờ theo lúc có thì nó sai là concert là cứ mua cho về sẽ bây giờ thế nào thế. Thì nếu không muốn nữa thì nó leave the comments below. Thank you. Bye.